So a lot of people, when they hear about Forest Heights, they learn that there was the nation of Nauru was involved and were the developers, but don't know anything about them. Can you give us a little brief history of?
Yeah, sure. Well, the property is 600 acres, which is a very large site, and had been undeveloped forever, primarily because the utilities were not available to it. And Homer Williams was the original owner of the site. He bought it in the early 60s and held it, and he had a partner who later on in the 80s, as a matter of fact, mid 80s, who happened to have been in the Philippines. And he went to a cocktail party that he was invited to, and lo and behold, why, there was the president of the nation of Nauru there, and they struck up a conversation, which was kind of interesting, and that goes that far around the world. Little Nauru, which is an 8 square mile nation, it's the smallest republic in the world, and run into this fella. And anyway, so Homer's partner asked him what they did for, and he said they do investments, and they had a couple investments in the United States, one in Dallas, Texas. And so Homer's partner said, well, gee, we have a nice piece of property in Portland, Oregon. Do you think you'd be interested in that? He said, well, maybe we would. But he says, first of all, where's Portland, Oregon? So Homer's partner happened to tell him, and at the end of the cocktail party, why, the president of Nauru told Homer's partner, he said, well, next time I come to Portland, I'll look you up and maybe you can show me the property. Well, next time they came to Portland, they did. They called Homer, and Homer met them, and at the airport, as a matter of fact, and brought them out to the site and got a helicopter because you couldn't get into the site. It's very rugged. And he flew them over the site, and he looked down on it, and he said, well, he says, I think I'd be very interested in buying this property. He said, I've never been to Portland, Oregon. Matter of fact, I didn't know where Portland, Oregon was, but he said, this looks very nice. He said, we'll go back and make you an offer, which they did, and it worked out fine with Homer. And so in 1989, they bought the property, and they needed someone to help them do the project. I was fortunate enough to be available, and my attorney knew the attorney for the nation of Nauru and recommended that we be hired to develop the property for them. So we said, sure. So we did that, and it was quite an experience, but very successul, and it was such a huge project. It took a long time to get the development work done. It's just very, very rugged. And once we did, the market was not terribly good, but we developed about 150 lots initially out of the 2,000 lots that would eventually accommodate in the project. And so we did develop the property. We developed a few houses, and we decided that after a couple trial and errors, we decided to do the marketing ourselves. And we hired an engineer and architects to design the first 30 houses so that we could show the public kind of what we had in mind. And what we had in mind was to carry out the same theme that is so well regarded in Portland, which is Portland Heights and Arlington Heights and Willamette Heights. And this area abuts Willamette Heights, and that's the reason we named it Forest Heights, to carry on the Heights image. Anyway, that was the start of it. And basically, we had our grand opening in 1991, and from that point on, we had a very good reception to the project, and it took about 20 years to complete it, but 2,000 homes is a whole lot of homes.
Yeah, to say the least.
But the nation of Nauru was very happy with how it turned out, so we were too.